Alright, so doing some maintenance on the Mustang, and I pulled the transmission because there's a seal that goes behind this uh, the gear shifter shaft. It's leaking transmission fluid out. So pulled it out and pulled it. You have to pull the your module, and there's a nut on the back. Once you pull this out, make sure, first of all, make sure when you pull it out, this thing doesn't slide all the way out. You want to make sure if you get the transmission out, you want to be able to lay it somewhere, sit it somewhere flat. Nothing's going to fall out, but when you pull this module out, which is these bolts right here, it's 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3. Your filter goes on there. You have to pull all these tubes out. Like this tube right here comes out of here, and then this tube here goes across to your whatever this thing is. I don't know what it's called. You have to pull that tube out, and there's a couple more tubes you'll see. I don't have them in here. There's one that goes from here to here. Once you pull all that out and you pull those bolts out, just be careful. I hung it on the cherry picker like it was in the car, and that way when I lowered it, I just got up under it, took the pan off. So when I took this off, it came out flat, so nothing won't fall out. Well, anyway, when you do get the module out, there's a nut, I don't know if you can see it, on the back of your, let's see, can I focus? On the back of your shift, your kick down lever, for your kick down for your quick down shift, there's a nut right there. You take that 1/2 inch nut off. Just be careful, don't drop any parts. What I did, I stood the transmission straight up on this end. But take that nut off, and then you pull this shaft out. Slowly, just pull it out. There is an O-ring up under this shaft that sits in the main gear shifter lever. You can pull that O-ring out, check it. I mean, it wasn't leaking. It was actually a seal behind your gear shifter lever that was leaking. I think I got that seal somewhere. If I didn't throw it away. Oops. I have the seal. So I'll figure out what I did with it. Well, anyway, there's a seal somewhere. I took the seal out, and this is the part number for the seal. You can get it from O'Reilly's. It's called the manual lever seal. It's what I looked up at O'Reilly's, or you can look up transmission shift lever seal. But that's the part number 75903. I got that seal somewhere. Quite find it. Oh, here it is. It's kind of beat up, but anyway, this is the seal right here. Notice it was all dry rotted and old looking, just crumbling apart. But it was leaking. But anyway, once you get this shaft out of here, your kick down shaft, there's a 7/8 nut, and that is on your main shift lever shaft. You take that nut, you can see it down in there. I'm trying to focus. See that nut that's turning, the big nut? You take that nut loose, and then once you get it off, there's no washer behind it. Just make sure you remember the what direction your little pointer is for your module, because it's supposed to sit in that little shaft right there. It's not going to fall out. It's hung on by a spring. It's got like a pin with a spring on it with a little Carter key looking thing. It won't fall out. It just hang there. Just make sure, if I were you, I would take pictures of everything before you pull it all the way out. That way you know the direction of it. Once you get that 7/8 nut off back there, then this whole lever will just pull out. Whoop. Just pull straight out of the transmission. And that seal is sitting in the housing right here. Sitting in your housing. And you can just, it's kind of hard to get out. I had to take a sharp punch and beat a groove in it, and then I pried it on out of there. But once it came out, I was able to put the new seal in, and I put it all back together, and I'm putting the module back on now with the bolts. And I got to put this tube right here is kind of troublesome to get out, because when it's in there, it goes from here to here, that hole right there, and it's supposed to slide up inside your module. But when it's in there, it's actually sitting behind this drum right here. So I had to loosen these 9/16 bolts right here, and it gave me a little leverage, a little wiggle room, and I was able to get it out of there. Same here, when you just don't take these all the way out, just kind of loosen them, because when you get ready to take the module out, you need that little plate, because I had pliers on here. You need that little plate to get this tube out, because it's in there. When this is tight and your module's tight, it's in there. It'll spin, but it won't come out. And I used some pliers on it. I didn't squeeze it hard. Just be careful, don't squeeze none of these tubes with pliers or vice grips, because they're real thin aluminum tubes and they can crack or get a hole in them. So just be careful. I was told this is a FMX C6 transmission. I don't know if it's just the FMX or the C6. The guy told me C6 FMX rather, but I'm not sure. Maybe you guys will know. I ain't too familiar with the FMX transmission, but like I said, once you get everything back together, snug your 7/8. I will hold this with some pliers. Snug your 7/8 nut. Check the O-ring in here for your kick down. Slide it back in, and tighten your 1/2 inch nut. Hold this with some pliers. Then you got your seal in. And one more thing. I wish I would have did this video while I was going at it, but you know, you get into a job, you get so excited. That little springer notch back here, this little, it's like a little button. It's spring loaded where I got the screwdriver on. I don't know if you can see it, but that's your little selector, gear selector, check ball. Definitely makes it kind of stay in gear. Make sure that don't pop out of there. It's spring loaded. It won't come out. Of course, I had the transmission standing on this end, but when you get ready to put your shift lever back on and put this back on, that shifts your gear, you have to push down on that little check ball and kind of hold it, slide this over the top of the check ball and keep pressure. It's better if you got two people. One person can push down on your shift lever while you hold this up there, your little selector thing up there, to go over that little check ball back there. You can see it now, because that check ball is spring loaded, so you have to take like a screwdriver and push down on it and then slide this over, because the end of that shaft is like a it's kind of like a round shape with halves cut out of it, just so this will fit on that shaft. I'm trying to describe it best way I can. So just be careful when you take this thing apart, you know, not to drop any screws or pieces. Don't drop your module on the ground. Just be careful, get you a good place to work. I got it on back of my truck on the tailgate, because it was the highest place I can get it that I can see. Of course, I'm outside. You're gonna get some transmission fluid, but you can easily clean that up. And one more thing too, you have to screw your vacuum module out at the end of your transmission, I would do this first. Screw this out. And there's a little rod that's in there. Don't lose it, because it goes into this hole where your vacuum module goes. It's like a little hole. It slides in there. Like so. Just make sure you get it back in there too. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little tiny hole back there that slides in. Real tedious. So yeah, get that taken care of too. Alright then, well, try to give you guys a video on this FMX C6 transmission. It's got numbers on the side of it. If you can clean your transmission off, maybe you can look those numbers up and see what transmission you got. There's plenty of websites. When I get it back together, get it back in the car, and we'll see how it goes.